Heartwarming Millionaire poses as poor, discover the touching moment that shook everyone. In the bustling heart of São Paulo, everyone knew Carlos Silva, the millionaire with a golden heart. But what if I told you that one chilly morning, Carlos decided to trade in his tailored suits for tattered clothes? The transformation wouldn't just turn heads, it would send shockwaves through the community. Dressed in baggy jeans and a worn-out t-shirt, he waded into the depths of the city's underbelly. Why? To walk a mile in the shoes of the less fortunate. As Carlos strolled through the crowded streets, he felt a knot twist inside him. The vibrant sounds of street vendors, children laughing, and the aroma of fresh pão de queijo filled the air, yet there was an unmistakable undercurrent of struggle lurking beneath the surface. He approached an elderly woman, hawking handmade crafts on the sidewalk. Her hands trembled, weathered and worn, every item she sold represented a willing sacrifice. With a shy smile, he bought a simple bracelet, feeling tears prick at the corners of his eyes. Just a small gesture, but it meant the world to her, and him. Carlos stopped by a nearby park where a group of children played football with a simple, deflated ball. They laughed and shouted with joy, their smiles as bright as the morning sun. As he joined in, he saw pure happiness radiate from their faces. Not a worry in the world. They didn't care about the money or the status, they just wanted to enjoy soaking up the sunlight. And in that moment, Carlos realized how far removed he had become from these simple joys. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference, let's connect. As Carlos continued his journey, he came across a small soup kitchen where volunteers served steaming bowls to those who needed them most. The sight stunned him. The lines were long, and beneath each weathered face, he saw stories of despair and hope, intertwining like vines. Carlos felt a lump in his throat, he wanted to help but didn't know how. Just then, he locked eyes with a young girl who seemed to understand his heart more than he did himself. Her hopeful gaze pierced through his facade, nudging something deep within him to awaken. What happened next would forever change how Carlos viewed his wealth and purpose in life. He stood at the crossroads of reality and privilege, about to discover that the greatest riches weren't found in bank accounts but in love, compassion, and connection. Could this adventure reshape the man who once had everything? Would he finally understand the true meaning of community? Carlos breathed in the rich smell of the soup kitchen, feeling warmth seep in as he approached the crowded tables. The atmosphere buzzed with chatter, laughter, and a few hushed whispers of hope. Yet amid the commotion, he noticed the people's faces, painted with tired lines and shadowed eyes. He felt the magnitude of their struggles hit him like a wave. With determination growing in his chest, Carlos walked up to the servers, who were ladling soup into bowls. "Can I help?" he asked, his voice surprisingly steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. The volunteer glanced at him, her brow furrowed in uncertainty, before realizing he was smiling, genuinely eager to pitch in. "Sure. Just fill those bowls over there," she gestured toward a stack of clean bowls waiting on the table. As he began to pour the warm broth, he could feel eyes upon him, curiosity mixed with skepticism. Who was this man dressed like them? What was he doing here? With each bowl he filled, Carlos delivered a smile or two, and something magical happened. The frowns softened, skeptical eyes turned to wistful glances. It was a small act, but it felt like breaking down walls. He listened as people around him shared snippets of their lives, stories of lost jobs, demanding expenses, and dreams shelved away. Each story unfolded like a fragile flower, sensitive yet resilient, and he felt each petal's weight settle in his heart. One elderly man reached toward Carlos after receiving his meal. "Thank you, amigo," he said simply, his voice cracking. It hit Carlos in a place he hadn't expected, an ache filled with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. People forget we're still here, you know. The man's eyes glimmered with unshed tears, deepening Carlos' understanding of this shared humanity. Not me, Carlos responded firmly, feeling a connection pulsate between them. I'm right here. As he wrapped up his shift, a feeling of fulfillment washed over him. He left the soup kitchen, but the experiences clung to him like the heavy rain during a São Paulo downpour. Walking through the streets again, he found everything different. The familiar sights seemed brighter, the laughter of children louder, and even the wafts of food more inviting. Yet, as Carlos wandered further, he noticed a stark contrast. The luxury cars gliding by felt foreign now, disconnected from the vibrancy of the street. He had always viewed success through the lens of wealth, but that day, he began to see it in community and connection. A twinge of guilt pulsed through him. Was it fair that he was part of the elite when the people behind him carried so much more depth of experience? As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, he found himself in front of a small bookstore. The sign outside read, "Everyone has a story." He hesitated before going inside. What if these stories could be shared? How could he help amplify their voices? The answer felt close, but just out of reach. Carlos entered the bookstore, determined to uncover the next step. And as he turned a corner, he faced a wall lined with photos depicting the faces of inspiring individuals just like him. His breath caught as he recognized a familiar face among the crowd, someone whose story had reached him long before today. What drew them together? What would be the next step in this unexpected journey? A seed of determination blossomed within him, ready to explore realms he had never imagined. Was this the moment that would set him on a new path, forever changing the landscape of his life? Carlos stepped deeper into the bookstore, intrigued and slightly overwhelmed. The air was filled with the soft rustle of pages and whispers of stories waiting to be told. He felt the warm glow of the lamps illuminated the array of titles, each one a portal to another life. But it was the faces on the wall that captured him. Each photograph held a story, each smile spoke volumes. His heart raced as he approached the picture of a young woman standing confidently, her gaze direct and fierce. It was the face of Letitia, a spirited social activist he had seen on the news, fighting tirelessly for the rights of the underprivileged. He remembered her impassioned speeches, how her voice cut through the noise of apathy. What is she doing here? He wondered, feeling a mix of awe and a burgeoning respect. Exploring the wall further, he noticed photographs of others who had impacted social change in Brazil. His mind buzzed with possibilities. Here, he could find the stories to uplift, the narratives that would resonate beyond the confines of a traditional social structure. Before he could contemplate his next move, a voice jolted him from his thoughts. "You're interested in them, huh?" A short, wiry man edged closer. With a baseball cap tilted backward and a wide grin that lit up his face, he seemed approachable, friendly. "Yeah, Carlos started but trailed off, a little embarrassed." "Fascinating, aren't they?" The stories they carry. The man leaned in, excitement bubbling in his tone. "I'm Lucas. This wall? It's just a beginning, my friend. Each picture could fill a book. Have you ever thought about putting together a collection?" "A collection?" Carlos echoed, the word rolling off his tongue. He imagined it a book filled with voices, sharing authentic experiences, pain, and triumphs. "Yeah. Stories of the people you met today and others who fight every day for change. You could give these heroes the platform they deserve." Lucas's enthusiasm was palpable. It sparked something in Carlos, igniting a fire of inspiration. Carlos lingered on the idea. He had resources. He had connections. But those felt so superficial compared to the raw authenticity of rummaging through the lives of those who fought every day against inconceivable odds. Could he really give them a voice? "Go for it," Lucas urged, noticing Carlos's contemplative expression. "You don't know how much people want to hear stories like these. You have a chance to change things. Make people feel and think differently about what success looks like." The word seeped into Carlos's mind, wrapping around his heart. What had he been given if not a responsibility to help? The thought of bringing out the voices of those he met that day, sharing their lives with a broader audience, sent adrenaline coursing through him. His heart swelled with purpose. I could start with them, Carlos said slowly, picturing the faces he had served at the soup kitchen. I could ask them to share, to trust me with their stories. Yes. Lucas shouted, pumping his fist in the air. You've got it. Those voices need to be heard. And what better way than through someone who has truly seen them? Looking back at the wall of photographs, Carlos felt a connection. Their stories weren't just pictures, they were a heartbeat of a community that needed a champion. The thought brought tears to his eyes, a swelling mix of gratitude and emotion. As he stepped back, a vision unfurled in his mind. What if there were a way to connect the wealthy and the poor through these stories? To weave empathy into the lives of those who had grown indifferent to the struggles right outside their doors, but just as excitement bloomed, doubt crept in. Was he capable? Who would believe him, a man straddling two worlds? Would he misrepresent their truth? What if he failed, or worse, what if he succeeded? Carlos caught Lucas's expectant gaze and, in that moment, knew something had shifted within him. The journey ahead was daunting, but one thing was clear: he could no longer stand idly by. He had to act. And with that, a new chapter of his life began to unfold, on the edge of possibility. But where would this journey take him? What challenges awaited as he embarked on the path of uncovering voices long hidden in the shadows? Would he find the courage to face the unfolding drama of human connection? Carlos stood frozen, staring at the wall of photographs that had ignited a passion deep within him. Words echoed in his mind: those voices need to be heard. He could still see the faces of the individuals he had met that day, the raw emotion etched in their expressions. The weight of their stories settled in his heart, firm and demanding attention. Carlos? You all right? Lucas's concerned voice broke through his thoughts, pulling him back to reality. Yeah. I'm fine. It's just I feel like I have to do this, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He grabbed a notepad from his bag, feeling the smooth paper beneath his fingers. I need to write it all down. Ideas, plans, everything. Lucas clapped his hands together. That's the spirit. Start with what you know. Reach out to those at the soup kitchen. Set up interviews, get their stories on paper. Passion fuels everything. The intensity in Lucas's gaze reassured him, giving Carlos the confidence to lean into this new endeavor. He envisioned himself returning to the soup kitchen, notebooks in hand, ready to listen and absorb. As he left the bookstore, the street buzzed with life, the sounds of laughter, music, and the aroma of street food dancing through the air. He felt a wave of excitement wash over him, blending with the anxiety of what lay ahead. The next day at the soup kitchen, the familiar sights greeted him: the worn-out tables, the scent of hearty stew mixing with bread. He absorbed it all, each detail reminding him why he was there. After serving the usual meals, he gathered the courage to speak. Hey everyone, can I have your attention? His voice wavered slightly, but he pressed on. I'm starting a project, a book, about people's stories. Your stories. Would anyone like to share? A murmur coursed through the room. Uneasy glances darted among the group. One elderly woman, Maria, leaned closer. Her weathered face broke into a smile. What kind of stories? Real ones. Going beyond what people see on the outside. Your struggles, your triumphs. I think it can help change perceptions. A silence fell. Carlos's heart thumped loudly. He saw the walls of distrust beginning to crack. Maria nodded. You want us to trust you? I know it takes time, he replied quickly. I wouldn't want to rush anyone. But it's important. You all matter. A younger man, Diego, shifted in his seat, eyes glimmering with curiosity. I'd share. I've got a lot to say. Carlos felt a rush of hope. That's it. You're the start. Let us meet talk. Any day works for you. I'm in. Let us do it, Diego replied, a mix of determination and shyness lighting his face. As they began discussing their stories, Carlos realized each voice was unique, echoing contrasts of despair and resilience. He leaned in, his heart racing as they spoke, weaving the fabric of a community that was often invisible to the world. Days turned into weeks as what began as mere interviews morphed into heart-to-heart conversations. Carlos listened with rapt attention, sometimes fighting back tears as he heard about lives filled with battles few could fathom. Yet, amidst the openness, he was met with walls. Some stories remained locked away behind the doors of pain. He faced frustration. Was he truly capable of breaking through? Every no felt like a personal defeat. He felt the struggle of grappling with these hidden vulnerabilities. Did he have a right to share their truth? Whispers of insecurity pestered him. That night, staring at blank pages, he thought of Letitia, the fierce activist on the bookstore wall. Would she believe in him? But in the dim light, he saw Diego's face, the spark of hope ignited within him. What if he began to share his own story too? Could revealing his own doubts and struggles forge a connection strong enough for others to trust him? Just then, a text dinged on his phone. It was a message from Lucas, ready to share your journey? Let us talk. Carlos took a deep breath, realizing he stood on a precipice of something greater. Would opening up change everything? The path veered in an unexpected direction. Would he dare to confront his own fears? He felt the urgency of the moment build, the pulse of stories waiting to intertwine. How would the convergence of voices shape his journey forward? Carlos couldn't shake off the feeling that everything hinged on his next steps. As he scrolled through his messages, Lucas's words echoed in his mind. They weren't just about a project, they were about connections, trust, and vulnerability, his own vulnerability. It felt like a tightrope, balancing on the edge of sharing too much while desiring to open the gates for others that he decided he needed to unpack his own story before truly entering theirs. Perhaps, if he laid his heart bare, it might inspire them to do the same. Overwhelmed yet resolute, he grabbed his notebook and ventured to a quiet corner of the park. There, beneath sprawling trees, he began to write. My name is Carlos. I grew up watching my parents struggle to make ends meet. They always wore smiles, but I knew the weight of their worries. He paused, the pen hovering over the paper. Tears welled up, but he pushed through. Sometimes I felt invisible. I wanted to scream, to make my voice heard, but I didn't know how. Until now. He looked up, watching a couple share laughter nearby, children chasing each other. Moments like these were beautiful, yet Carlos felt a nagging emptiness, a fear that he'd never belong. He thought about the people at the soup kitchen, their strength and resilience. How could he help them if he couldn't step into their shoes? He returned to the soup kitchen that evening, fueled by a new drive. Deep down, he realized he had a choice. He could narrate his own song, all those heartaches and insecurities, or brace himself for silence. The faces of those he had met flashed through his mind as he approached them. Each one mattered. They were, after all, the heart of his project. Diego, he called out, spotting the young man in the corner. Diego looked up, his expression curious. Can we talk first? I want to share something important. Diego nodded, and Carlos motioned for him to join him at a small table tucked in the back. I know you shared your story, but I feel it's time for me to share mine too, Carlos said, the words tumbling out. As he spoke, he felt the walls guarding his heart beginning to break. I was scared of being seen, of exposing my vulnerabilities. But I've learned that sometimes we need to strip away our layers to connect. Diego listened intently, a gentle nod encouraging Carlos to continue. If I can be brave enough to share my fears, then maybe you all can find the strength to trust me, to trust each other. When he finished, a silence took hold. It felt sacred, like the space between breaths. Then, like a gentle wave, Diego's voice rose, thank you for being real. It's hard to open up. The room stirred with a sense of shared humanity. One by one, others joined in. Maria, the elder with the wide smile, spoke of her fears of being forgotten. A shy woman, Anna, spoke next about the holiday meals where she had always felt alone. Each story ignited vulnerability, like fire in a hearth, warm and inviting. Carlos's heart swelled with hope, but alongside it lingered doubt. Would there be moments when they'd retreat back into silence? Would they trust him enough to return? As the conversations weaved in and out, their voices mingled, creating a tapestry that pulled Carlos deeper into their world. Just one more step, he thought, bring me closer to the truth. Suddenly, Maria spoke up, wiping a tear. Carlos, if you're brave enough to share, I think we all have a little fire to share inside us. His pulse quickened. What if they all let go of their burdens, united in their stories? The thought electrified him that it wasn't just his heart that needed to heal. It was theirs too. The room brimmed with anticipation. Could their stories recreate the narrative? Could they challenge the perceptions of others together? A voice within beckoned him forward, daring him to explore deeper into the essence of community and healing. And as another week approached, a new group was forming. What would happen when the final voice echoed, and all burdens were laid bare? Shifting through the pulsating hope, a question lingered in Carlos's heart: just how deep was their willingness to dive into the pain and beauty of their collective pasts? Carlos felt a flicker of determination amidst the whirl of emotions in the soup kitchen. The warmth emanating from the shared stories ignited something in him. With each voice that spoke up, the courage to bare their souls seemed to seep into his skin. He took a deep breath and glanced around the room. Each story is a reflection of who we are, he said, raising his voice slightly over the gentle murmurs. All eyes shifted to him, curiosity sparkling in their gazes. What if we turned the light on ourselves? What if we shared not just our fears, but our dreams too? Diego leaned forward, his expression keen. Dreams? He echoed, as if the word had been foreign until now. Yes, Carlos replied, emboldened. What do we hope for? It could be something big. Or it could be something small. It doesn't matter. Maria let out a soft laugh, wiping her cheeks where the tears had fallen. Like a color we've always wanted to paint our walls. Or a dish we've wanted to cook but never had the ingredients for. Yes. Carlos exclaimed, a grin spreading across his face. Exactly, Maria. It's not just about hardship. It's also about the little joys, the things we long for. Anna shifted in her seat, her fingers fidgeting with a worn bracelet. I always wanted to travel to a beach, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper yet filled with emotion. To feel the sand beneath my feet, to know what it's like to watch the sunset over the ocean. Carlos felt a surge of warmth at her words. It was such a simple dream, yet it echoed with urgency and yearning. That's beautiful, Anna. And it's real. Each dream can inspire others, too. As conversation flowed, more voices sprang up, rippling through the air like drops of vibrant paint blending on canvas. There were wishes for education, for family reunions, for starting a garden. Each dream brought smiles, dissipating the shadows of worries that loomed so heavily before. With every story shared, the atmosphere shifted, it grew lighter, richer. Carlos couldn't help but chuckle when Diego described his passion for cooking. If only I had the right pots, I'd start a restaurant with the best feijoada in town. Laughter erupted, a chorus of delight weaving through the room, brightening even the dullest corners. That he realized then that every shared moment helped weave their collective narrative, one that was punctuated by dreams and desires, not just challenges and pain, but the more they talked, the more he felt the need to steer the course of this burgeoning connection. Let's take a moment to write down those dreams, he suggested. That way, we can help each other reach them. Find ways to make them real. Excited murmurs filled the air. Carlos quickly gathered pens and scraps of paper, handing them out, feeling the buzz ignite. Maria worked a bit slower. What if I don't reach my dream? she asked, vulnerability clinging to her words like the last traces of autumn leaves clinging to branches. Then we will keep dreaming, Carlos said firmly, his own heart racing. Each step we take toward it is a move away from silence. And that's what matters. Together, we'll make it happen, one small piece at a time. The room nodded, a gentle wave of agreement washing over them. In that moment, Carlos understood they were a tapestry made richer by their shared experiences, their collective aspirations weaving them into a community, yet, as he watched them write fervently, a flicker of uncertainty still nagged at him. Would they stick around when the initial excitement faded? Would their dreams inspire genuine action, or would they drift back into the shadows of their insecurities? Above the chatter, the question hung in the air, almost tangible. What truly lay ahead for them all, and would they have the courage to follow through once the euphoria settled? Carlos's heart thudded with the weight of anticipation, ready for whatever came next. In the fading light of the day, he leaned in closer and whispered to Maria, "I can't wait to see your restaurant, Maria." She smiled back, sparkling hope reflecting in her eyes. "And I can't wait to have you as my first customer." Just then, the door swung open, revealing a stranger in tattered clothes with an unmistakable glint in his eyes. Who was he? And what impact would he leave on their fragile new community? Carlos felt the air shift in the soup kitchen. The stranger stood in the doorway, his weathered face illuminated by the dim light. There was something peculiar about him, something that drew all eyes away from their dreams and toward this new arrival. The glint in his eyes sparked curiosity and apprehension all at once that he stepped inside slowly, taking the time to survey the room as if he were entering a sacred space. "Is this the place where dreams are shared?" he asked, his voice gravelly yet warm, like sunlight breaking through winter clouds. The room fell silent. It was Maria who finally spoke up, her voice tentative but hopeful. "Yes, we're sharing our dreams tonight. I'm Paulo," the man announced, brushing his hair back with a hand that trembled slightly. "And I've come to listen." Carlos, intrigued by the stranger's presence, stepped forward. "We'd love to have you join us," he encouraged, hoping to bridge this new connection with the same warmth they had built together. "We're discussing our dreams, what we aspire to become." Paulo nodded, a deep smile forming as he took a seat at a table close to the group. He glanced down at the parchment in front of him, the words sketched by trembling hands. "Dreams, sometimes I feel they're like fragile glass, beautiful but breakable." Diego leaned forward, his interest piqued. "What do you dream of, Paulo?" Paulo paused, choosing his next words carefully. "I used to dream of being a musician. I wanted my songs to resonate in people's hearts. But life," he hesitated, and the room held its breath. "Life had other plans for me." Carlos felt the weight of his honesty. "Sometimes, dreams change those who carry them," he replied softly. "But if one dream fades, can another rise?" "Yes," Paulo said, a light shimmering in his eyes. "I learned that even when you think you've lost everything, there's still hope." Maria, moved by his words, pushed a plate of food toward him. "You must be hungry. We have enough to share, and you're welcome here." The weight of kindness hung in the air, eventually coaxing a chuckle from Paulo. "You know, food is another kind of dream. One that brings people together. I once dreamed of a banquet with friends and good music. Then let us start small. We can gather again and create our own banquet." Carlos exclaimed, the enthusiasm bubbling inside him. "We could even share our songs, our stories together." The group nodded, smiles spreading like wildfire. The energy shifted again, tattered moments of hardship blending into vibrant hopes and laughter. But still, Carlos noticed uncertainty lingering behind their brightening faces. "What if we try and fail?" Anna's question emerged hesitantly, a shadow echoing through the room. "What if we're not good enough?" Paulo's gaze hardened with conviction. "You see, it's in those moments of vulnerability that we find our true strength. When you share your heart, who cares if the song isn't perfect? What matters is that you sing, As the passion coursed through them, Carlos caught the eye of Paulo. A connection flickered between them, and the revelation buzzed with electric potential. Paulo was not just a stranger, he was a vessel of resilience and inspiration. Just then, the door swung open again, a gust of wind trailing in, bringing with it not just a chill but an unexpected chill of unease, as if the atmosphere had shifted once more, drawing attention away. What was happening now? Who else would enter their space of dreams? And would this new arrival disrupt the fragile yet vibrant bonds they had begun to strengthen? A gust of wind whirled into the soup kitchen, rattling the door and causing the light to flicker. A silhouette appeared in the entryway, blocking the light for a moment. The group tensed, their smiles fading into frowns of curiosity and fear. The newcomer stepped in, revealing a young woman with striking green eyes, her hair cascading in waves down her back. She wore a long coat that looked expensive, yet the heaviness in her expression made it hard to judge her social status. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice soft but firm, "I didn't mean to intrude." Paulo tilted his head, intrigued. "You're not intruding," he said warmly. "What brings you here?" She paused, glancing around the room, taking in the makeshift tables laden with food and hopeful faces. "I heard there was a gathering, and—" Carlos stepped forward, empathy blooming in his chest. "We're sharing our dreams," he offered gently, hoping to invite her to join their circle. With a shy nod, the woman approached. "I'm Eliana," she introduced herself, her voice trembling slightly. "I've always dreamed of helping others, but I'm not sure how." Her words fell softly, like raindrops on concrete, stirring emotions within the room. "Helping starts with just being here," Carlos assured her. "Sharing, listening, that's how we build dreams together." Eliana's smile broke through her uncertainty, but it quickly faded. "What if I told you I feel like I don't deserve to dream? My life has been different." "Different can be good," Paulo chimed in, his voice like a warm embrace. "You have your own journey. You bring a unique perspective, and that matters." Textures of silence floated through the air, thick as a fog. Diego, usually quiet, felt the need to speak up. "We all have stories. Some lighter, some heavier, but we're here to lighten the load. Tell us your story, if you'd like." Eliana took a deep breath, glancing at Paulo, then at Carlos. "All right. I grew up surrounded by wealth. But the love was absent. My parents were always busy, and I was often alone. Money can't fill the void of companionship." She looked down, her voice breaking. "I sometimes wonder if I'll ever know what it means to truly connect with people." As she spoke, waves of empathy washed over the group. Paulo reached out, laying a comforting hand on her arm. "That connection takes bravery," he said, his eyes shining with understanding. "You're just as vulnerable as any of us. We all have our scars." Maria leaned in, placing her plate of food in front of Eliana. "You're not alone here," she offered sweetly, "we all belong. Share whatever you feel comfortable with. We're excited to know you." In that moment, warmth spread throughout the room, and the fragile space they created felt boundless. Eliana's shoulders relaxed as she met their gazes with newfound courage. "Maybe I can try," she whispered, her heart beating faster, a glimmer of hope sparking within. But just as the air had seemed to warm, an unsettling noise came from outside, like sirens piercing the night. A tension crept back into the room, and everyone exchanged worried glances. Was something wrong? What if someone needs help? Anna suggested, glancing toward the door. Paulo stood, determination in his eyes. "Then we'll be there. Tonight is about dreams, but it's also about standing together. Let us see what it is." Carlos felt his heart race. Who were they about to face? And could this group of dreamers, forged from vulnerability and hope, rise to whatever challenge awaited them? Paulo pushed the door open, the cold air clashing against the warmth inside, causing a shiver to dance down his spine. The sirens grew louder, drowning out the laughter and heartfelt stories that had filled the room only moments ago. The group huddled behind him, a collective breath held tight in their chests. Outside, the street was alive with flashing lights and commotion. Figures in uniforms scurried around, and a sense of urgency hung thick in the air. "Stay close," Paulo called back to the others, his bravery a thin veil over his own uncertainty. Eliana stood beside Carlos, her green eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. "What is going on?" she whispered, squeezing Carlos's arm tightly. "I don't know, but we'll find out," Carlos replied, his voice steady yet filled with an undercurrent of concern. They stepped outside, joining a handful of bystanders. A man knelt on the pavement, clutching his chest, while a few others attended to him. "Help is on the way," one officer reassured, but the panic in the man's eyes spoke volumes. It was a coded panic, the kind that echoed their deepest fears. Paulo's heart raced as he took a step closer, feeling an odd sense of connection. "Can we help?" he shouted over the noise, hoping to bring something, anything, positive to this chaotic scene. The officer turned, a look of desperation flickering across his face. "We could use more hands, sir," he replied. Eliana hesitated but then moved forward, her instinct to help overriding her doubt. "What should we do?" she called, her previous lack of confidence fading beneath a wave of urgency. "Form a line. If anyone can get water, do it now." The officer barked out the orders, and without hesitation, Carlos and Paulo charged back into the soup kitchen, gathering cups and bottles. Eliana joined them, her earlier self-doubt cast aside in favor of action. Each cup she filled felt like a small triumph, a nod to the connection she longed for with others. She glanced at Paulo as they worked side by side. There was something unifying in their shared goal, a spark igniting a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. Just as they gathered supplies and headed back outside, a cry rang out from the crowd. "He's not breathing." A woman's voice broke through the siren's wail, sending a cold shiver down Eliana's spine. The group of dreamers regrouped, newfound determination etched on their faces. Together, they pushed forward to the man on the ground, their hearts racing in unison. Carlos knelt beside the officer, who was now performing chest compressions, desperation etched deep into his brow. The sight was visceral, and Eliana's breath hitched. "We have to help him," she pleaded, feeling a rush of emotion. "What do you need us to do?" "Someone call for backup," the officer called out, not taking his eyes off the man's still body. Paulo nodded, his fingers trembling as he used his phone to call for assistance. Time seemed to stretch infinitely, and desperation clawed at Eliana's insides. As the world blurred around her, something struck her. These were the moments that mattered. This raw connection, this urgency, it forged bonds thicker than any money could buy. A fire lit within her, an understanding that made her feel like she finally belonged. Within minutes that seemed like hours, sirens wailed closer, illuminating the scene with their frantic red lights. The crowd's murmurs grew. She exchanged looks of concern with Carlos and Paulo, who held tightly to hope. "Stay with us," Paulo said softly, his voice cutting through the chaos. In that fleeting moment, she realized this night was about more than just dreams. It was about heart, compassion, and resilience in the face of chaos. But as the paramedics arrived, bringing hope wrapped in uniforms, a sudden realization gripped her. A question arose in her mind that she couldn't fathom the answer to. Would their newfound connections withstand the storm of the truth that was about to come? As the paramedics rushed in, Eliana felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The air crackled with urgency. Carlos and Paulo exchanged glances, a silent understanding forming. They were part of something bigger now, a community forged in vulnerability, rising to meet adversity together. The paramedics worked swiftly, their movements precise. Carlos could hardly breathe, his heart pounding as he realized how this situation mirrored the struggles they had all faced. Just hours ago, they were sharing dreams, and now they were fighting for a life. He couldn't help but feel connected to the man on the ground, who was just as much a part of their story as any of them. "Come on, buddy," one of the medics said, leaning over the man, compressing his chest with fierce determination. Eliana felt tears prick at her eyes, her heart grappled with heartbreak and hope. This was real. The weight of their dreams pressed down on her, intertwining with the fear of losing someone they didn't even know. She glanced over at the group, her newfound friends, united by this moment. When the man's eyes flickered open, a collective breath of relief surged from the crowd. The paramedics checked the man's vitals, stabilizing him. Carlos felt himself relax, tears streamed down Eliana's cheeks, but now they were tears of relief. Each person around them breathed life into the other, a collective resolve surging like electric energy. As the ambulance pulled away, a solidarity formed amongst them, an unspoken vow that they wouldn't look away from their community anymore. Carlos felt a wave of determination crash over him. They had shared dreams, faced fears, and now they had proven their worth through action. "Let us not let this be a one-time thing," Paulo said, animated by the energy of the moment. "We need to keep coming together, keep sharing. We can't just talk about dreams, we have to act on them." "Agreed," Carlos replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. "Helping each other reach our dreams doesn't just start and end here, it continues beyond these walls." Eliana stepped forward, her green eyes shining with newfound purpose. "What if we organized a community gathering? Share stories, talents, and yes, even our dreams, celebrate our resilience." "Love it." Diego chimed in, his excitement infectious. "We can invite those from the soup kitchen, and others who want to join. There's power in togetherness." And just like that, a plan began to take shape. Conversations blossomed, the warmth of camaraderie ignited into something that felt transformative. Every laugh, every shared story poured life into the idea. Carlos couldn't help but smile, witnessing the change unfold. They were no longer individual voices but a chorus that resonated. Though still raw with fears and uncertainties, they found strength in togetherness. The days turned into weeks as they pulled the gathering together. Invitations spread like wildfire through word of mouth, reaching hearts and homes that were once distant. Friends became family, relationships deepened as they shared collective dreams around the warmth of food and laughter. Finally, the day of the gathering arrived, a warm evening, perfect for community. As Carlos entered the bustling park, he was met with vibrant energy. Colorful banners adorned the trees, and children played freely in the grassy expanse. Tables overflowed with dishes from the diverse hands present, showcasing their cultures and traditions. The air thickened with excitement. One by one, stories flowed, weaving through the crowd like a shared heartbeat. Carlos saw Maria sharing her dream of her own restaurant, laughter spilling with every word as she painted a picture of culinary magic. He caught a glimpse of Ana's eyes shining as she spoke about the ocean, her dream igniting hope within every listener. When it was Paulo's turn, the crowd silenced, all attention on him. "Sometimes we think our dreams fade, but they transform our journey," he began, a twinkle in his eye. "And sometimes, people help us find the light when things feel dark." He pointed toward Eliana, smiles exchanged. He knew her journey. Then Eliana stepped up, a spark illuminating her face. "I never thought I could connect like this. Being here makes me realize that sharing my struggles and my dreams is what makes me whole." The cheers that erupted were a palpable wave of love and acceptance. As the evening wore on, they shared music, laughter, and countless dreams, intertwining their hopes like threads on a grand tapestry. And in that space, surrounded by family, the struggles that had once appeared insurmountable now seemed merely the stepping stones to a brighter future. Carlos knew he'd found a mission, a purpose greater than his wealth. He realized the true fortune was found in the hearts and stories of the people surrounding him. Every laugh, every tear, building an unbreakable bond of community. As he stood before the vibrant crowd, he felt their collective heartbeat. "We started this journey as individuals," he declared, his voice steady and full of conviction, "but together, we've created something beautiful." As the sun set behind them, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Carlos smiled widely, knowing that their shared journey had only just begun. They had transformed not only their own lives but the very fabric of their community, a movement rooted in understanding, compassion, and connection. This was just the beginning. And together, they would keep dreaming, keep sharing, and keep lifting one another up. Now, dear friends, it's your turn to be part of this story. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the good vibes rolling. Comment below your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about this powerful ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support us. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of this journey together.